They told her that women had no place in the Corps of Cadets. 3 young men spat those words with smug confidence right before they drove Lieutenant Bryn Calloway down a flight of stone steps at the United States Military Academy. None of them knew that the blood in her veins came from a 4-star general. None knew her father died fighting under a silver star. None understood what she had already endured and survived. They believed a fall would break her spirit. They were wrong. And when 3 generals arrived on post 72 hours later, locking every gate behind them, those cadets finally discovered that some families never forget. Some families fight back. Bryn sat in a stark examination room in the Academy Hospital, left wrist swallowed by a hard cast, ribs bound tight against every painful breath. The military police investigator across from her asked her once again to go over what happened 3 days earlier. She kept her voice steady. She refused to show weakness in a place where weakness was devoured. She had graduated from this institution just 2 years earlier, top of her class's infantry selects. A combat patch earned in Afghanistan, and now one of the youngest tactical officers on campus. She'd imagined returning as an officer would feel triumphant, like stepping back onto sacred ground as someone who'd proven herself. Instead, every day had been a battle for respect she shouldn't have still been fighting. She was raised at Fort Bragg by a Special Forces father who taught her marksmanship before she learned algebra. Weekend ranges, calloused knuckles, his calm voice correcting her stance, reminding her that a weapon was a responsibility, not a toy. Not once did he say she couldn't do something because she was a girl. He simply raised her to be capable. When Kandahar took him from her, she promised him silently beside his flag-draped coffin that she would finish all the things he never got the chance to. The academy had tried to break her, like it broke everyone who arrived thinking they were already tough. She ran until her vision blurred, studied through exhaustion, carried more weight than her frame should have allowed. She survived every test and walked away not just intact but exceptional. Combat taught her even more. 30 soldiers depending on her judgment in alleyways where the enemy hid 2 feet away. She earned her soldiers' belief through action, never demanding anything she wouldn't do herself. Returning to West Point as attack felt like closing a circle. But the cadets she was meant to shape, some resented her very existence. Derek Hollis, Jared Finch, Carter Breen, 3 first-classmen with loud opinions and quiet records. They didn't come from legacy families. They came from entitlement without merit. They were already on her radar: sloppy rooms, disrespect toward junior cadets, and a history of talking big about the academy lowering standards for women. Twice she documented their infractions. Twice they accused her of bias. Twice they lost. Their hatred simmered. They whispered insults when she passed. Nepotism, favoritism, affirmative action. They sneered that Ranger School must have been easier because she was there. She ignored the noise because the Army teaches you to ignore insecurity disguised as bravado. But then came Wednesday. Washington Hall's grand stairwell echoed with footsteps as cadets changed classes. She was halfway down when she caught them staring. Finch moved into her path like he owned the space. He wanted an audience. He raised his voice so everyone nearby heard him claim women didn't belong in uniform, let alone leading men. She told him to move. Instead, Breen shoved her. Her boots lost traction. Her hand reached instinctively for the rail but never found it. She hit stone, wrist snapping, ribs crunching, skull ringing. The world tilted and blurred as she slid down several steps before coming to a stop. Breath gone, pain sharp enough to blur vision. Voices shouting, hands grabbing to help. But the 3 cowards who caused it vanished like smoke. That night the hospital confirmed everything she already felt. 2 fractured ribs, a displaced wrist fracture. They offered her medication strong enough to dull thought. She refused. Pain to her was memory, and she would remember this. The investigator doubted her story. His questions pried for excuses. Did she start it? Was it truly deliberate? Could she be mistaken? She stared back, unwavering, and told him exactly who did it and exactly how. He scribbled notes, promised follow-up. She'd heard that promise before. The following morning, the legal office called. The cadets had struck first, counterclaims accusing her of harassment, bias, misconduct. They tried flipping guilt into victimhood, twisting her professionalism into personal vendetta. Emails she'd written as documentation were now evidence against her in a probe expected to drag for months. They reassigned her, benched her, barred her from contact with the cadets who maimed her. That was the moment she dialed her grandfather. She never wanted to weaponize her last name. She spent her entire adult life proving she didn't need his rank or his shadow. But now the institution she served was failing her, and she was out of ammunition. He answered immediately. She reported the facts like a field briefing, flat, efficient, controlled. When she finished, he didn't ask questions. He simply said, "I'll take care of it." The next morning, a black SUV rolled through Thayer Gate. 3 men stepped onto academy soil without need for introductions or appointments. A retired 4-star, a serving 2-star who had bled beside her father, and a senior official from the Inspector General's office, someone with the authority to crack the academy wide open. Within minutes, the superintendent declared a security lockdown. Cadets confined to quarters, movements monitored, doors locked. And over the next 48 hours, the truth surfaced. Security video showed the trio waiting, planning. Text messages exposed their malicious coordination, their jokes about getting rid of the girl tack, their mocking anticipation. Witness statements corroborated the shove. Overnight, the 3 accusers became the accused. Military police marched them out in cuffs. Their dreams of gold bars died on the parade field they once strutted across. Families hired lawyers, cried misunderstanding, begged mercy. UCMJ charges didn't care about their excuses. The superintendent summoned Bryn. When she entered his office, 3 generals stood waiting, not one of them her grandfather. The superintendent apologized, directly, sincerely. He acknowledged that she had been left vulnerable by the very system sworn to protect her. And then he gave her a choice: leave for any assignment she wanted with promotion guaranteed, or stay right where she was, with full backing, full authority, and an institution now reshaped because of what she endured. She chose to stay. She returned to work with bones still mending, but her posture straighter than ever. Cadets saluted with something new in their eyes. Not pity, not fear. Respect. Real respect. The kind earned through fire. Her attackers faced courts-martial in the months that followed. Convictions handed down, confinement, dismissals. Their names stripped from class rolls. Appeals denied. Their legacy now a cautionary tale whispered in barracks hallways. Weeks later, her grandfather called again. He told her pride was too small a word for what he felt. He reminded her that her father's strength lived on in every step she took. She didn't need the affirmation, but it still mattered. She belonged here. Not because of heritage, not because of grief, because she had carved her place into the stone of that institution with resilience no shove could break. Every time one of the young women she trained passed by with a silent nod of gratitude, she remembered her father's lesson. You don't convince them with words, you outlast them with action. You prove them wrong until excuses no longer exist, and she would keep proving it every single day.